What's up, everybody? Welcome into DodgerHeads, presented by DodgerBlue.com, part of the Medium Large Sports Network. My name is Jeff Spiegel. Privileged today to be joined by RJ Cutler, who is the director and executive producer of Fight for Glory 2024 World Series, a docuseries coming to Apple TV Plus on March 28th. He is an Academy Award winner, Academy Award nominee, two-time Emmy Award winner, two-time Peabody Award winner. I could go on, but RJ, thank you for your time today. How are you feeling on the cusp of your baby here that's going to be out in the public pretty soon?
Oh, we're thrilled. Thank you, first of all, for having me, Jeff. And we're thrilled. We're thrilled. We're so excited to be sharing Fight for Glory. I mean, we loved making the show, and we know that baseball fans are going to love it. It might be a tiny bit harder for Yankee fans than for Dodger fans, but you're certainly seeing baseball in a way you've never seen it before, and that was our goal. So we're really, really excited to be sharing it.
Love it. Well, I have some questions. I've gotten to see the series prior to this interview, but before we get to that, I'd love to hear the story sort of behind the making of this. Ron Howard's involved, Derek Jeter's involved. What was the process like of kind of getting this approved, and then, of course, waiting to see who was actually going to be playing?
Well, you probably remember as a baseball fan that there's always been a World Series film. In fact, going back to the early 1940s, when the United States government reached out to Major League Baseball and said, hey, our troops stationed overseas in World War II don't have any way of watching the World Series. Can you guys produce a film and we'll distribute it to all the troops? Going back to then, 80 years and more, there's been a World Series film. I still have the 1986 VHS, because I'm a Mets fan. And if your team won the World Series, you bought the World Series, what was called the World Series film. It was really a collection of highlights, some interviews and highlights from the World Series. And it was terrific. But there was an opportunity, and Major League Baseball and our friends at Imagine Documentaries saw that opportunity, and they got together and decided, let's step it up. Let's see if there's a way to really jack this up. Imagine Documentaries is run by a number of amazing people, but it's Ron Howard and Brian Grazer's company. And they reached out to me and to my company, This Machine Filmworks, and said, would you be interested in directing that film? And I said yes on the phone. I am a lifelong baseball fan. I love the sport, and I have always wanted to tell stories in this way and use and see what the cinematic and character-driven and emotion-centered way of telling baseball stories would result in. I wanted to see if we could do it as I've always imagined it, and turns out I think that we were able to pull it off in a really wonderful way.
Well, you mentioned you're a Mets fan, so I have to ask, as you're watching the NLCS and the Dodgers are playing the Mets. Of course, the interesting thing about this is you have no idea who the main characters are going to be in the movie that you're making.
Absolutely.
So
that's the challenge. You don't know until 2 days before you're filming who you're filming or even what city you're filming in.
Yeah. So what was it like for you to watch that NLCS? I mean, did it feel like there was an extra added element of fandom involved of like, man, I might get to make this movie and my team might be right in the middle of it?
It's true. Look, you know, as a baseball fan, nothing gets in the way of you wanting your team to win. Yeah. So nothing except, if the Mets were going to make it to the World Series, it was going to be a great year and I was going to be super happy. But as the series went on, I mean, you remember the Dodgers pummeled them. The Mets won 2 of those games, but my goodness, the Dodgers were scoring double digits in every single one of those games. They were just on fire. And even with Freddie missing 2 of the 6 games. And so I got used to the idea that they weren't going to be in the World Series. And it wasn't so bad for me because I was able to watch it all with real perspective. I mean, I generally root against the Yankees, but I generally root against the Dodgers too. So I wasn't a rooting fan making it. I was a filmmaker, and the Mets not being in it did liberate me to open up the filmmaking side most of all. So there you go. But maybe this year, maybe we get to make it again this year, and we'll be in Flushing filming.
Well, I was going to ask, as a Mets guy, you watch your team get eliminated by the Dodgers and then they go play the Yankees. I know you're rooting for drama at that point, which you got plenty of the
We
drama.
got
So
plenty of drama.
yeah.
Exactly. We got it all. We got it all. But
Well,
I didn't have a rooting interest. I felt, listen, I felt for both sides, and I really felt the incredible stakes, the
yeah,
emotion, for everybody. And one of the things that making a film like this allows is for you to appreciate each of these individual stories, these epic tales. Freddie's story is
yeah,
incredible, but so too is Aaron Judge's. That's an incredible story. This gigantic figure, both
yeah,
literally and figuratively, who's had this incredible season, this historic season, and suddenly over the first 3 games of his first World Series is batting 0.77. As his team falls behind 3-0, but then wakes up in game 4 and might be leading them back.
yeah,
When that home run, you felt it
yeah.
at the beginning of game 5. You knew what was going on. And then he made that catch off of Freddie's line drive. My God. Yeah. Everybody in Yankee Stadium saw a game 6 and maybe even a game 7 coming.
As the director, how did you balance not knowing how this story was going to end? Because to some degree, you can kind of watch this whole thing play out and then put the pieces together afterwards. But I imagine there's also a part of you that is trying to, as game 1 happens and game 2 happens and game 3 happens, you're sort of starting to string some things together, starting to ask some specific questions, get some specific shots, that kind of thing. So how do you balance letting things play out, knowing that you've got a little bit of time after this ends to put pieces together and create storylines, while also realizing you've only got one shot to get the footage and the interviews that you need?
You're asking all the right questions, and the answer is that's what we do. I mean, working on this series was definitely one of the highest degrees of difficulty of anything that I've ever filmed, because you don't have time. You've got to move really, really quickly, and you've got to be on your toes at all moments. And that's the key. You've got to be ready to respond in the moment, at every moment. In a way, you've got to be have a baseball player's mentality. And the next pitch is what you've got to be able to respond to. And things change really, really quickly. I mean, everything's hunky-dory for both teams before game 1. But after game 1, one of those teams is on the, back on its heels and very, and it's very tense. And, and you would think a team up 3-1 would be nice and relaxed and ready to win the World Series. But in this case, the team that was up 3-1 was like, uh-oh, here they come. So it's, you just got to stay in the moment and try to see things, as always, as clearly as possible, so you can tell the story as well as possible.
One of the things I think Dodger fans are going to appreciate and what makes this special is the behind the scenes access that you guys were able to get, specifically with Freddie Freeman's family and with Mookie Betts' family.
Yeah.
Obviously, we know those two guys were going to be main characters, however this thing played out. Little did you know you were following Chelsea Freeman prior to game 1, not knowing that.
What the heck are we doing with Chelsea Freeman when Freddie hits that grand slam? I mean, that's crazy. That's crazy. That, and sometimes a little luck is a good game plan,
Yeah. Now, what are those conversations like? Because obviously, if you're the Freemans or the Betts, and I don't know if you had people on the Yankee side who were not ultimately used because of how the series went, but if you're Chelsea Freeman and Freddie Freeman's family, you kind of don't want to be a part of this if your team ends up on the losing end. So how do you convince them to participate, not knowing how the next week and a half of their life is going to go?
Well, listen, with all of our work and all of the films that we do, we are aware of the fact that people enjoy having their stories told. They're going through a kind of extraordinary experience, and we're just there to see it as clearly as we can. We're fun to hang around with. We give you a chance to talk about the experience you're going through. We're going to film it in a way that will, you'll be able to look at it forever. And we really, we really respect the situation that the people we film with are in. We don't hang around them all the time, and we want them to experience this as well as possible. My rule of thumb is always, I always say to the crews, let's stop filming 15 minutes before they ask us to stop filming.
Yeah.
You know, let's try to be as aware as we can. So it becomes, I think, you'd have to ask Chelsea and Brianna and their families, but we think it's a very, it enhances the experience for them.
Totally.
It kind of makes it even more enjoyable. And the conversations are always different. But in this case, we were very fortunate. We were very fortunate that, that the Freemans and the Betts, who are great friends, were willing to give us access. But a lot of other people gave us access, and that was a great part of it too. And the Dodgers, as an organization, were really supportive, which was fantastic. And listen, everybody wants the story told as well as it can be told. And when they know that you're out there to try and do that, people are, we found that people were willing to give us the benefit of the doubt. Now we've got this film to show. So next year, I think it'll be even, let's hope, and let's hope we're doing it next year. It'll be even easier because we'll have the experience to show them.
The cliche is that when you watch a World Series like this, it's like it's a movie. It's like somebody wrote this script, and the drama of Freddie Freeman hits, basically Kirk Gibson home run 2.0 in game number 1. Then you've got the Yankees winning game 4, which is what you would want to create the drama of game 5. And then you would want the 5-run lead that gets blown. And kudos to you, by the way, because I saw how intentionally you put a clip of Garrett Cole covering first base in the beginning of game 5 and Aaron Judge catching a line drive. These are seemingly meaningless moments, but when I'm watching it back. So I'm just thinking, for you as the director, what's going through your mind when you realize, this isn't to say your job was made easy, but the quality of the film is definitely enhanced by this not being 4 straight blowouts or something like that. What's going through your mind when Freddie Freeman hits that home run, when the 5th inning of game 5 happens as the director?
I mean, let me tell you where I was. So the first 4 innings of game 5 happens. The Yankees are up 5-0. It's a bacchanalia at Yankee Stadium. I mean, people are going crazy. You've never seen a party like this. And I thought, I want to see what it's like in the major league booth, in the suite overlooking all of Yankee Stadium. And I went over there just to kind of get a perspective on what that's like, because that's what a lot of what I do during the games is go everywhere to see it from all the different points of views, where all the crews are. And I'm also back in our truck watching on the monitors. But I wanted to watch the 5th inning from the MLB suite, which is a bunch of suites. There are a lot of people there. And it's a party. Everybody, because everyone knows it's going to game 6. What 5-0 no-hitter at that point is not, with Aaron Judge leaping over tall buildings in a single bound to catch Freddie Freeman line drives. So I'm up there and I'm talking and I'm looking, and of course my eye is on the ball game, and Aaron Judge drops the ball, and nobody seems to really notice. But I said to the person I was talking to, watch this. And because that's baseball, right? Yeah. I felt it happen. And I said, watch this. And then when the play at third happened, I was like, I got to go. I'm going back to the truck. And I ran back to the truck and watch the game as I was going back there. So it's, you got to try and be in the moment as much as possible. But I think everybody felt it. Even Aaron Judge felt it when he dropped the ball. And we show that too. And we also show how kind of human that moment is, because he drops the ball because he's trying to set up a double play, right? He takes his eye off the ball to see how far off first base the runner is. And that's the whole thing unravels as a result. So it's what's going through your mind is, man, baseball.
Yeah. Okay, 2 questions. I know you're on a time crunch. I'm going to get you out of here. The first is, you had a camera crew with the bleacher creatures out in Yankee Stadium. Can you just give me a 30-second soundbite of what those camera people, what their experience was like?
Drenched, beer soaked.
There you go.
Beer soaked. But they weren't the only ones who were beer soaked. The Dodger wives got beer soaked in game 5 too. Yeah, that was pretty intense. But that's how in a word, I would describe that crew's experience as beer soaked.
I love it. Okay, last question for you. One of my favorite moments in episode 3, and Dodger fans will remember, there's a big decision for Dave Roberts on how to handle Blake Trinan in the 8th inning of Game 5. Because Trinan, I think on my gravestone is going to be like, Jeff is a defender of Blake Trinan's performance in the 2024 playoffs, and especially in the World Series, and especially Game 5. But you have this great insight of Dave Roberts and the decision about whether or not Trinan is going to get left out for both the second and the third out in the 8th inning. There's this comment where Dave Roberts is saying he's looking at Freddie Freeman, and Freddie Freeman's telling him, hey, leave this in. I guess my question is, I'll set this up, and the last question is, I imagine you had so many of those moments that you had to cut out of this film. There is so much insight and so many things that were left on the cutting room floor as you tried to pare this unbelievable drama down to 3 episodes. And so I guess maybe my question is, like, what were some of the hardest decisions that you had to make about what got in and what didn't get in?
There's a lot. You were absolutely right, and you're describing it well. And that's part of the process. You know, again, what was hard in this case was more that we didn't have a lot of time to make our decisions and to try. We really had to, we had to be at our most muscular as filmmakers in making the decisions and calling the shots, because sometimes it's hard to see, what are the most important moments. And we could have built. There were lots of moments that we could have built to get you inside, but we wanted to get you inside the most important moments. And I feel that that's what we did. And so to say what are the hardest decisions, it's more that's just kind of what we do to get you there. And we got you there on all 3 of the hours of this.
Yeah.
And so we feel like it was tough, but I'm not missing anything. You're definitely seeing the director's cut of this show.
I love it. Well, Dodgers fans, you're going to love it. Fight for Glory again, coming to Apple TV Plus on March 28th. It's a 3-part docuseries. That's RJ Cutler, director and executive producer. Congratulations on an incredible piece. Obviously, I'm saying that as a Dodgers fan who got to relive my team winning the World Series, but I thought you did a great job of reminding me of moments that I may have forgotten about and just giving me 3 hours to relive, what was one of the greatest sports moments of my life. So thank you, RJ, and congratulations on a great production.
It's a great pleasure, and good luck this year. We'll see you in the NLCS.
Hopefully. That's RJ. Thanks everybody for joining. Again, this is DodgerHeads presented by DodgerBlue.com. Enjoy the rest of your day. As always, go Dodgers.